I'm Nick Murdoch, the EDA Director for the City of Perham, and we're happy to host this event here. Thank you for considering us, and yeah, welcome, and hopefully we learned some good stuff today.
Thanks for hosting us today, Nick. Today I want to introduce our speaker. Jared Grondahl is from Intrepitek. He's a IT and cybersecurity expert. We brought him here today because he exclusively works with small businesses. His specialty area is businesses from 1 to 10 employees, which I think speaks to the most of us. And so whether we're a small business, whether we're a chamber of commerce or a government entity, those cyber baddies are out there to get us, right, Jared? So with that said, I want to introduce Jared and take it away.
Thanks for the introduction, and I appreciate you inviting me to come along to come here to Perham to talk about cybersecurity with you all. I know IT and cybersecurity are everybody's favorite topic, so I'm sure we'll have a ton of fun with this. So we'll go ahead and get started here with the next slide, and it'll be kind of an introduction to myself.
Let's see if I can figure out how to do the slide deck. Is it on this, Nick?
You should just on your computer.
All right, I'm gonna have to.
Space. Slide.
Space. Ah, there we go.
Perfect. So you probably want to know who is speaking with you today. I am the chief owner guy of Intrepitek. As you'll learn going through this, I believe in having fun in everything you do, even if it's something you probably should be serious about, because if you're enjoying what you're doing, you're going to do a lot better job with it. So that goes all the way down to my own job title. I am an avid researcher and solution finder. I love when an issue comes up, being able to figure out how can we make this work. And I am generally self-taught. I have a very hard time learning from reading a book. I say it goes in one eye out the other every single time I try to read anything. So give me something I can work on and I'll figure it out. And then as you can see from this picture, I can catch a fish, but I am much better at catching fishing attempts than I am at actual fish. And then usually you will find me being an awkward introvert at events because I am an IT guy. That's kind of how I am, and I fill that stereotype nicely. And you will also see here my colleague Tex, the Intrepitek Rex, who is our mascot, and he's the one that gets to help me around the office when I need some more entertainment in my life. Slide.
All right. That's not working. Space, right? Space bar?
Correct. You have to be active on. So.
There we go.
Or somewhat of a trick. So I did want to start by mentioning some more recent attacks to let you know, even the big guys that do have all these systems in place, they still can get hit. You'll learn throughout this that a big part of it is the training you look for. One of the biggest ones recently was just a month or two ago. It was the MGM in Vegas.
Take that out.
And it was one where it actually happened in about 3 weeks after Caesars actually got hit there. And it was a matter of 10 minutes phone call to them saying they were staying at the hotel there, in the IT department, and within 10 minutes they had access to everything and shut down the entire place. And came down entirely to just a user error, just giving out information they shouldn't have, and had one little slip up and brought them down. I think they were down for a day or two, even with all the money that they have to run all these things. And then there's a pediatric dental practice in Alabama as well that ended up paying out a ransom, 130,000 in patient data that was being stolen. And my biggest issue I have with something like this, if I'm trying to manipulate you, is they were telling me that you will leave the data. If someone's doing it, you can trust them to actually do that. That is one of the biggest questions for me. And I really doubt that they had already sold that information on the dark web before that was paid out, because they do take that before you even know anything is going on. And then the last one was in Hines County, Mississippi. The actual county themselves were victims of ransomware, and they were down completely for a couple of weeks before they could get their systems back online. So the entire county government side of things could not operate or do anything until they got that straightened out.
Okay. There we go. Got this figured out.
So we're going to go over what we're going to learn today. So the focus will be about how to help secure small business from the cyber baddies. As Ian was kind enough to use my terminology, it's not an official term in any way, but gotta continue to have fun no matter what it is. I will be sharing with you some scary statistics because sometimes that's what people need to realize that it is very important to do these sort of things. And then we'll also go over some systems that you'll be able to implement. The majority of them will be at no cost to your business, so it's definitely something to do. And some of them, there will be a small cost at the end that are things that you can also purchase if you wish to secure your business even further.
Jared, can we stop for just a second? I'm hearing that people can't see the slide deck on here. Can you all see it now? Yes, it looks good now. Okay, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Okay. So next slide.
Yeah, next slide.
Okay. Do a change. There we go.
All right, so we're gonna go over some common myths about cyber attacks, and these are all things that I hear very often. Partially from the most common to the least common as well. One is I'm too small, they're not gonna come after me. They're not looking for who they can get to. Most times, they're just hitting anything and everything to see where there's a weak spot that they can get into. They really don't care who they get. If they can get some money, that's what they're after. So there was a study that revealed 43% of all cyber attacks are directed towards small businesses. Again, it's not to say they're trying to hit this small business specifically, it's just they're looking for weaknesses, and a lot of small businesses aren't secured, so they can say, okay, let's attack this one, and we are gonna get a little money out of it at least. So they end up making more money from just hitting more businesses, even if it means less money each time for them. The next one I hear a lot is I'll replace my computer if I get ransomware, which certainly you can just throw out your old computer, get a new one together and start from scratch with it. Granted, before they put the ransomware on your computer, they likely already stole all the data off your computer, which includes your client list, customers that you work with, your email contacts, pretty much anybody you communicate with, they now have their information as well. So even if you throw it out, they still have it, they're still gonna get money because they're selling all that information on the dark web. And just selling your data is just a big source of income for them on top of you giving them money to get your information back. And then another one here is I have antivirus that'll protect my business. And the one common theme we'll talk about here is roadblocks. The more roadblocks you have, the less likely they are to get through. Antivirus is definitely one of the roadblocks that you should have. But if they get through your antivirus and you don't have anything else, they got your data again. If you keep on going through, they hit this roadblock, they hit another roadblock, they eventually start saying, this isn't worth my time, because obviously you're going to keep trying to stop them from getting into your information. And then the last one, I don't save any data on my computer. We all probably operate a lot in the cloud, especially if you're doing e-commerce. But anything you do on your computer is still on your computer. If they get to your computer and you go to a website to access everything, they're still going to be getting into that website then to be able to access the end client data, anything not personally identifiable information. For some reason, that is a word I can never say on the first try. I don't know why. And then even trying to get passwords, bank accounts, and even if you use Google Chrome and just have that save your passwords, it simply saves a file on your computer that has your passwords. And where they steal that file from you, they have all your passwords now. So next on that.
Okay. There we go.
All right, so we're gonna go over some of the effects of a cyber attack on a small business. And some of these numbers keep increasing year after year, but the average cost of a data breach specifically to small businesses, which is a very broad term because that is up to 500 employees. Obviously, the smaller you are, they're going to ask for less money because they know you're not going to have over $3 million to give them. If you're a larger one, they might ask for $6 million to get your stuff back. So $3.31 million is the average to small businesses that are attacked. And that's going to include what they're asking for. That includes time that you're down not making money. You may be down 2 weeks where you're just not making any money for those full 2 weeks. So that's all lost income at that point, and it's unfortunately very devastating to our small businesses when they are hit by those attacks. And as I mentioned, it does cause extended downtime. One thing you are supposed to do if you are attacked is you are supposed to report each attack to the FBI. They're supposed to do investigations as to what happened, make sure everything gets removed off of the computer, off the network, wherever the breach happened. And I have heard as well, if you don't report it and you do try to file a claim with your insurance and you have cybersecurity insurance, they won't pay out if you did not report it to try to get it resolved, because then there's the concern that something is still there and they're just gonna hit you again in a month. And they do say it is estimated that at some point, every business is gonna get hit. They're starting to say it's more of a matter of when instead of if at this point, which is unfortunate, because that's also part of the cost is reputation hit. If you hear a business gets hit, you are more likely to say, well, I don't want to do business with that company because they recently had all their data stolen. And it's unfortunate because, like I said, it's going to be hitting majority of businesses at some point or another. And the biggest concern I have with these numbers here is the next one, number 4. Within 6 months, 60% of small businesses go out of business. Again, just from all the costs they accrue from doing that. That's the big reason why I got into doing what I do, is because I do not want to see our small businesses go out of business, especially before they get to even see much success potentially. And as I mentioned, 95% of breaches occur just because of human error. We all go on autopilot. I'm guilty of it myself. I deleted stuff off my computer because I was like, okay, delete this, going through, and then all of a sudden, like, whoops, I was supposed to have that. So something like that you can recover from pretty quickly a lot of times. But if you do click on something that installs ransomware on your computer, makes it a lot harder for it to recover it. And then these are all statistics that were part of the IBM cybersecurity research. They do one every year just to get latest update as to all their statistics they've been able to find for what's been happening with cybersecurity for businesses and small businesses. I specifically, of course, choose to grab the numbers that are specifically for small businesses rather than the other ones. All these numbers look even worse when you start factoring in the big boys that also get hit and get demanded multi-million dollars just to get their stuff back. Next on that.
Okay.
All right, so we will go into more detail on all of these as we go, but just ways that we can protect ourselves. Technically, all of these are free options that you'll be able to use for your business. Big one is disposal of data. If you get a new computer, you get rid of an old one. Take your computer to a place that recycles them, because they'll destroy the hard drive for you. Even if you wipe your hard drive, someone can still get that information off of it. Always keep your computer updated. The majority of updates are just to fix issues that may come up, or they might also be fixing security flaws where they exploit them to get into your system and access information that they shouldn't have access to. To me, one of the biggest ones is multi-factor authentication. Most people view it as annoying. I understand that. But it is one layer that greatly helps to protect your accounts. Just because in order to get connected, they need your password and whatever other system you have in place to verify that you are who you are when you sign in. The next one is encrypting your hard drive. This is to pretty much prevent someone from stealing a hard drive from your computer and taking its data. If you have a desktop computer in your office, some people, if they're break in, they'll leave your computer, but they'll steal your hard drive just so they can plug it into the computer and get the data. If it's encrypted, they can't do that anymore. And then the biggest one you'll hear me say a lot is training. Anyone in your company, from the owner down, make sure everyone's familiar with how to protect themselves. There are definitely a lot of training systems you can access. There's free ones. You can probably just go on Google if you want, or YouTube, and find some information just to help keep yourself up to speed a little bit to help get yourself protected. Hopefully information from this will help with that some as well.
Jared, what does it mean to encrypt your hard drive? How do you do that?
Yes, so we'll go into a little bit deeper
More deeper?
information, but
Okay.
what it does is it uses the system so that anything that's on your hard drive, it links your hard drive with your computer. So if someone was to take your hard drive, they plug it into another computer, they can no longer access it. It needs to be connected to that specific computer.
Ah, gotcha.
So it is something that's built into Windows if you have Windows Professional
Okay.
or above. If you have Windows Home, there are other ways you can do it, but they're not quite as reliable and quite as simple to use,
Okay.
at least in my opinion. So,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah. All right, so first one to talk about was disposal of data. And I said, always dispose of them. If you wipe the data, there is software that can get to that data. I haven't used anything like that in probably over 10 years myself. And I'm gonna say though, in those 10 years, just based on technology and improvements, it probably does a lot better job than anything I used 10 years ago. And I was still able to get any data off of there that I wanted to for the most part. And then computer hard drives, there are locations that you can take them to recycle. That is to do Google search for your local area to see if there's any businesses that take them in. And then just let them take care of it, otherwise there are nationwide companies as well that take care of that for you. And usually they'll recycle the computer and they'll also destroy the hard drive entirely, so there's no way to pull anything off of it, even if you plug it into anything. And for updates, like I said, just security updates, Microsoft does updates every Tuesday, which is called Patch Tuesday, and of course, sometimes updates, they do break things. That's the unfortunate side effect at times. But they do fix bugs and they do have security flaws. Microsoft, of course, doesn't wait until Tuesday if there's a huge security loophole that they found. They're not gonna say, well, it's Wednesday, we'll just release it next Tuesday and say that's good enough. So if you do fail to update your computer, it does leave those exploits and vulnerabilities open to your computer. And then the programs on your computer, they also receive the same updates for the exact same reasons. They do fix bugs and things like that, and issues with the program itself. But they do also fix loopholes that get discovered that someone can be abused to get into your, either into that system, or sometimes they can get into your entire computer from what's happening in a program. So definitely keep those updated as well. And then multi-factor authentication, or MFA for short, or you might also hear two-factor authentication. It has multiple terms as well that they utilize. Majority of systems do allow you to use it. If you go to a website and you have an account there, there's a very good chance they'll either say you can set it up or they'll force you to set it up depending on who they are. And usually involves either using an authenticator app or just get a text message or a call on your phone. You can put a 6-digit code or whatever. It is one of those things, like I said, it's a minor annoyance. Yeah, it takes a little more time sometimes, but it does prevent a lot of issues, and Microsoft does say 99% of attacks can be prevented through multi-factor authentication, just to keep them out of your account, because they do need that extra layer then to get connected. And then the last little bit here is according to LastPass, who is a password manager company, only 57% of businesses are actively using multi-factor authentication. So that is a large chunk that are now doing something that's a free option that could probably prevent majority of issues from even happening. About the one time you would see that happen is there was, I think it was about a year ago, Uber had their accounts compromised because someone called the driver and said, "We need to log into your account to fix an issue. Can you give us the multi-factor authentication code?" That's about the only way that they can effectively get around that, is by getting you to straight up give them that information. So I highly recommend not giving that information when someone's calling and asking for it, unless you very specifically know who it is. But most people you're working with, they're probably gonna have other ways to get them. All right, so we did have a question on encrypting your hard drive. So like I said, it just pretty much prevents someone from stealing your data right off the hard drive there, putting it on a different computer. If they were to grab the hard drive and put it on the computer, they need your 48-digit recovery key. And I'm just gonna say good luck trying to figure out what those 48 characters are in a reasonable amount of time. So that is the biggest way to help prevent that from happening. And then most modern computers include what's called trusted platform module. Honestly, I very rarely see that word that spelled out. I always do just see TPM. So what that is, it's a feature that's built into Windows. You can utilize BitLocker if you have Windows Pro, Windows 10 or 11 Pro. And it just does a check when your computer starts up. You don't need to notice it. It doesn't waste any extra time. So if you have Windows Pro or better, it's definitely something that you want to get set up. Just because it's one of those features that's added in, you don't notice it's there unless something really breaks or you swap out hardware in your computer that confuses it. Then you just need that recovery key, you're back in, and you're good to go. And like I mentioned, training is a huge part of this. Basically, the more you know what to look for, the safer you can be, whether it's phishing emails or suspicious websites, or even someone calling you and saying, "Hey, I'm with your IT department," and you don't have an IT department, or you have someone that handles your IT, but it's only 1 or 2 people, and it's not either of them. Just so you're not actively giving out your information to them so they can access everything. And then the training is also big to learn how to spot a phishing email, which is one of the biggest ways that they get into your systems, is just send a phishing email. I'll go into that a little bit here, but one of the biggest things we'll do with that is they send me an email saying, hey, your Microsoft account needs you to reset your password, go to the site, click the link, put in your user and password. You just gave them your credentials belonging to your email. They now have full access to that. So anything you can do to prevent phishing emails, or not to prevent them, but know when you are seeing them, will help a lot with just protecting your data, client's data, and just keeping everyone safe online. Okay, so if you're not familiar, phishing is an attempt just to catch you off your guard and to give the cyber baddies your credentials. Or sometimes they'll just straight up say, you owe us money, or here's an invoice to pay. And you end up paying because sometimes you're really busy and you think, oh shoot, I don't remember that, but I need to get this paid, or they'll send it off and I'll get in trouble for that. So sometimes, like I said, they do pretend your password needs to be reset. And majority of things, if you get something you're not sure on, go directly to that site. If they say your Microsoft email needs to be, your password needs to be reset, go to Microsoft, log in manually, reset the password. Same for even Amazon, PayPal, things like that. It's a lot safer bet, because if they do need to be done, when you try to log in, they will prompt you to say it needs to be done. Another thing they will do is pretend to be someone you do business with. I have seen and heard this numerous times of just different places where they say they're with someone, say you have an accountant, and they say, hey, you owe me for 2 months still, you haven't paid for them, for their services or anything like that. Or they may send out mass emails to your clients and say, you need to update your billing information. This is the account that we just switched over to, so you'll need to make your payments to this. And then your clients are straight up paying someone else the money that they should have been paying you in the first place. And then one I see a lot is pretending to be the CEO or the owner of your company and saying, go to Best Buy and buy $500 worth of gift cards and just scratch off the codes I need them to give away for giving them out to kids or something, Christmas coming up, and things like that. And then you go and spend your own money, buy these gift cards, send them into them, and then you go and talk to your owner for reimbursement or anything like that, and find out, I never told you to do that. So this is one that is very common. Most times it does get caught, though again, it does slip through every now and then. We are human, we all make mistakes, and sometimes you're in a rush, or you just want to make sure you don't get in trouble. So that's definitely something to keep your eye out for. And if you're ever not sure, if you have the phone number of someone that sent it, or if they're in the same office as you, you can go talk to them, verify with them, say, did you send this to me? Just so that you can know that it is legit. And if nothing else, they might know their account was compromised then too, if it came from their email. All right, so these are some of the paid ways in general that you'll be able to keep cyber baddies out. And again, these should add to all the many roadblocks that we previously have talked about already. One is to use password managers. I am very open with people in saying it drives me crazy if I walk into an office and I see a post-it note with passwords on the monitor, or I lift up the keyboard and I see your passwords all listed right there. Believe it or not, that is not secure. Any random person could walk into your office, whether they work there or not, and now they have access to that data if they really wanted to. So password managers, they make it a whole lot easier in the sense that you don't even have to take a password most times with them. You can generate the most secure passwords and have to repeat passwords. So if one does get leaked out onto the dark web, you only have to reset one password instead of 300 passwords, which is very time consuming. I will vouch for that myself. And then having antivirus, as we mentioned, every business should have antivirus. There are cheap ones you can get. They are generally more consumer residential friendly ones they're for. Sometimes you do have to spend an extra few bucks a month, and they do have actual business grade antivirus that they do a lot more to protect your business. They help to try to stop ransomware, just have a lot of extra features to try to help keep your business safe that you may not use personally, because you probably don't care as much about your personal computer as you would your business computer. And then email phishing protection, there are a lot of programs out there, and what these a lot of times can do is they'll either catch phishing emails before they even get to you, depending on the program, or some of them, they give a nice big banner that gives you a warning, like, hey, you've never seen emails from this person, verify who it is before you send information or click on links. just to give you that heads up. And then a lot of them, they do offer trainings as well, or simulated phishing emails to try to trick you into clicking on them. And then if you do, they can tell you this is what you should look for. Or if you just report it, it straight up says, congratulations, this was just a test and you passed. So gives that extra warm feeling that you did something right. And then training, as mentioned, it's so important. There are systems you can purchase that do trainings, including that phishing through email. And then just there are other training systems that are just more cybersecurity oriented, that give different information on different things to look for, whether it's phishing or just how to protect your computer, how to spot suspicious websites, and all of those fun things. And then this last one is kind of more in line if you have an IT staff or you have a company doing your IT, is to remove the ability for all your end users to be admins on the computer. Yes, it is another one of the annoying things of I need to install the program, I need to get permission to install it. But it also does help to prevent you from accidentally installing something you shouldn't have, or you might click a link thinking I downloaded QuickBooks on my computer. You open it and there's a big website pretending to be that. So it kind of helps avoid that issue from coming up and then getting ransomware on your computer just because you accidentally got a wrong program. That they had a very believable website. It happens way more than I would like to see it, unfortunately.
I have a question about the password managers. Do you ever worry about those password manager apps getting hacked?
I don't worry too much, just because, like I said, a lot of people use just the browsers to manage their password, which there's just a file on your computer you can grab.
Yeah.
With the password managers, there is always the chance that they could get hacked. They do different ones. They have varying levels of encryption and things like that.
Okay.
And I will be going over the ones in a little bit here that we utilize. And with that one, the company that runs it, they have no access to the passwords themselves. It's all encrypted. I can't look at someone else's password to see what it is. If they forget, we have to reset the account.
Okay.
And then they have to get back into it themselves. So
Okay.
someone might do take a lot of security measures just to make sure that someone can't
get in
grab the passwords very easily.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so like I said, these are some systems that Intrepitek uses. For our password manager, we use Cybersecurity, and we're huge fans of if it's not good enough for us, it's not good enough for anyone else. So if we say we'll use this, it means we believe it's good enough for others to use as well. And vice versa, we say we're never going to use this. I'm not going to tell you to use something that I personally would not want to use myself. So for Cybersecurity, some of the things with it is they do let you have your longer secure passwords. They do one thing I didn't realize when we partnered with them, but they actually provide 5 family licenses as well at no extra charge for every license that you have for your business. So that does let you help your family secure their personal passwords as well, and you can use it to share passwords if you need to. Or the absolute worst case scenario is if someone in your family passes away and you need to get into their accounts, you can have that set up so that you have access to those passwords so you can get into those, and it saves a lot of time when dealing with that process as well. It's already a very stressful time in the first place, and trying to get all that figured out makes it a whole lot worse. So if you can prevent that, anything to make life easier is always better. And then it does also save you time where you can have 20 character passwords on every account and you never have to type it in. I will say some of it is based on the website you're using. With Cybersecurity, I've had a handful of websites. I'm logging into the site before the site's even uploading. And then it does have 2-factor authentication built into it as well. So instead of pulling out your phone looking at an app, it has it built into that. So you can get in through the 2-factor authentication that way as well if you like. And then the next one, we do use Microsoft 365 Business Premium. For a large company, I do say Microsoft does a lot of things right. I would like what they do. And they actually seem like they're constantly trying to evolve and not just for the sake of making changes, which I do say a lot of companies do that, is they sit around thinking, what can we change today? They do that sometimes, but not as much, like from what I see anyways. But with the business premium, it is a little more pricey, but it does give you added protection. It's meant to give kind of enterprise level security for small businesses without paying hundreds of dollars a month for each person that works for your company. And then it does, the second part of that is, again, more for someone who might be managing your systems. It does give additional tools to support and manage and protect your computers. It gives a lot more insight as to what's going on the computers, so we can possibly catch an issue before it's even an issue, whether it's hardware failures or something's getting on your computer. With something like this, it just has those extra tools that can be utilized. And then it does have additional layers to protect from phishing attacks as well, so you can get better filters in place, so that if someone sends a phishing email, they might also just catch it in place and say, no, we're not even gonna let this one get to your mailbox, so you don't have to worry about it then. And then piggybacking on that, we use Iron Scales as well, which is an email phishing protection program. So they have an AI system that helps attempt to catch phishing emails before they even get to you. I will say, from my curious mind, I actually get frustrated with it sometimes, because I get an email, and then by the time I look at my phone and see what the email was, it's gone, because it pulled it out of my mailbox. And then I'm curious in my mind, well, what were they trying to do? So sometimes if you're curious, that does get annoying, but it's a great thing to have, because it does save you from that autopilot mode of, I got an invoice, I need to open this and see what's going on, and then you just install the virus on your computer. And another nice thing is this one does give a nice banner notification on your email to catch your attention. To look closely, I have seen ones where it says you normally communicate with this person, but the email address is slightly different. They changed one letter or something like that, so it's not actually that person anymore, or the name is misspelled on there. There's something that you might easily miss on your own, or just straight up, you've never received an email from this person yet. Look at it, verify what it is before you start clicking on things on there. And then, like I mentioned, it has the ability to pull phishing emails directly from multiple mailboxes as well. So if you have 10 people in your company and some all 10 get the same phishing email, and someone reports it and is doing, okay, it's phishing, it'll grab it from all of them, so you don't have to worry about all 10 people catching it and either reporting it or deleting it and not accidentally clicking on an invoice file. I mean, it's an actual invoice that they should be clicking on. And then Breach Secure now is a newer one that we're using, but it's primarily a training system. They utilize what they call a credit score system. So they do annual trainings, just a 30-minute annual training, and then they send out weekly little micro trainings. They're just about a few minutes each. And the more you're doing the trainings, the more your score is going up. And fun part with it is also, if you have multiple people in your company, they do keep a scoreboard as well, so you can have little competitions, get all prizes, and just have a good time while you're keeping yourself secure. And they do dark web monitoring as well, which what it does is it scans the dark web for your domain, like for me to be Intrepitek.com, and it will check to see, are there any accounts that use your email address and the password for them, so you can see, okay, this password is on the dark web. Any accounts that utilize that password, whether it's that email or not, you will want to get that changed, so that way you can kind of stay ahead of the curve a little bit on that as well. And then for those that are HIPAA compliant, that does also have a program that lets us give extra policies and trainings to help keep your HIPAA compliance if you're a medical provider and things like that, just to make it a little bit easier for you and hopefully avoid the fines, which if you do have a HIPAA fine, they are usually not cheap. Much like with many things that end up running the businesses, you don't get to do many things cheap, unfortunately. And then our last one is SkyKit, which is a backup for Microsoft 365. So one thing I didn't realize to the extent was, before I started a business, was Microsoft doesn't back anything up for you. So if you do delete stuff, you have, usually it's about 30 days, I think, that you can still get it back. But after that, it's just gone. If they have a catastrophic failure on their end, you just lost everything at that point. So with something like this, it keeps a backup in place for you. So if you are attacked by ransomware, or even a malicious employee goes through and they're quitting or they got fired and they delete all the files that you have saved online or saved on your computer, we can kind of laugh at them a little bit and say, well, we just got it all back now. So you just wasted your time by doing that. And then, yeah, so if you are victim of ransomware, same thing, you can get your computer back online. And then any data that you had stored on your Microsoft account is now available still in there, so we can get that back to you as well, once we know it's safe and secured, and it's not gonna put a ransomware right back on your computer again. Next one.
Okay. That's it.
That's what I said. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, that would be everything with that, and definitely open to if we have any questions.
Well, I think I was kind of asking questions as we go, but for those of you online, feel free to ask questions, and then anybody here in the room as well. What questions do you have? For Jared.
A lot of this is geared towards small business, obviously, but like on a personal level, is something like Cybersecurity, like the password manager, is that available for like a personal computer or personal?
Yes, they do have personal licenses as well as business licenses too, so. And yeah, I recommend that even just for personal life, like I said, something happens in your family. It helps with the process of getting those accounts, and you can just save it, being able to access stuff easier and more securely. Definitely has a benefit. Yeah.
Are our cell phones any more or less vulnerable than a computer or laptop?
Hard to say one's more or less vulnerable. I will say, from my experience at least, your cell phone will get targeted a lot less. Partly because you have the mixture of a lot of Android, a lot of iPhones, and things like that, so they kind of have to figure out which one you have. Makes it a little more difficult, but there is definitely a thing. They could definitely get into your phones, or if they call you up and get personal information from you, they could say transfer your number to a different number altogether. So then, if you have a multi-factor setup and you call and text, it sends that one instead. So that, and there are definitely vulnerabilities that are there, but for the most part, when you hear of breaches and attacks, it's usually done through computers.
Any other questions?
I've got another question. So if you're, sometimes when you sign up for like an app or a program or software, like you get the login option, you can create a username and password, or you can link it to your Apple ID, or you link it to your Google ID. Are those options safe, or do those expose you?
It depends on who you ask. Cause I'm a fan of using them myself, just because it makes it so you're not having so many passwords to juggle if you're not using password manager. And you still have to be able to log into that account. So if you have a link to your Google account, make sure your Google is set up with multi-factor and things like that, just so someone can't log into your Google and not have everything else. I would say if you're not going to put any time and effort into securing that primary account that you use to log into stuff, you probably shouldn't do that either, just because again, they get into your Google now, they have access to all these other accounts just from that link that you made.
You had talked about, recycling your old computers. And you said you just Google search, but do you know of anyone locally that does that, or?
I'd say around here, I don't. In West Fargo, we utilize Epic Technologies.
There's one in West Fargo.
Yeah, there is one there that's a local one, and I like supporting local when I can, so. And they'll even straight up destroy your hard drive right in front of you if you're really concerned about if they're actually gonna do it or not. They'll say, okay, well, here, we'll put a screwdriver through it right now, or a drill through it, just to make sure you don't know it was destroyed.
That generally costs money.
Usually computers are free when you're doing those. They do have signs that you do have to pay for, I think monitors and printers and things like that. If you want to have them, there's sometimes a cost, but computers, they typically do free.
Yeah, I've got a pile of laptops at home and they're don't know what to do with it.
And like, you know, home by
Yeah. Thank you.
We have a question from Tracy. She says, how does Microsoft Defender compare to what you're recommending?
Well, I guess I probably should have that on the slide. I actually, with Intrepitek, for everyone we work with, I actually set up Microsoft Defender
Okay.
for them. And part of that is with the Microsoft Business Premium, it includes whatever they feel like calling it at this time. Right now, I think it's Defender for Business. They've also called it Defender for Endpoint. It's again, similar to that antivirus situation I mentioned before. We had your consumer grade and your business grade, where it adds a lot more of the business grade features that you want to secure your business on those. As far as standard wise, I mean, I've used just the plain Microsoft Defender as well for a good bit, and it is pretty highly reputable. It's known for detecting a lot of viruses once they're on the computer.
Okay.
The business one is more leaning towards preventing them from even getting to the computer in the first place.
Okay, so it kind of detects it when it's trying to wiggle its way in. So.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Great question, Tracy. Do you have any stories of people who have come to you after being attacked? And is there a way, after you've downloaded something like malware or something else, is there a way to protect yourself once that's done?
Once it's done, it's kind of done, though there are things you can have in place to make it so you can get it recovered a lot quicker and be ready to go a lot sooner.
Okay.
One of, don't know if I want to say favorite stories that
Yeah.
just because it's a horrible thing that happens is there's one that's actually at another cybersecurity summit I was at that wasn't directly to me, but I got to hear the story of a larger company. Their president was over in Europe for some convention. And someone was already in their email, they had access to it. Most times they'll sit in your mailbox for the average is 270 days before they even do anything. Just who you talk to, how you talk, so they can kind of impersonate you as well. So they were sitting in the owner's email and knew they were going to business meetings, that they're gonna be in meetings for 2 hours. And about a minute before it started, they sent an email to who they knew was the finance person at the company and just said, we're gonna lose a deal if we don't get the money sent right away. Here's the bank account, send them $50,000. And then, of course, they're like, I'm gonna be in meetings for the next 2 hours. Don't ask questions, just do it. Usually they will operate on fear, like, this is a rush, you need to do it just to get you to not think about it. And then after they did that, they waited about an hour and then sent another email saying they said they never received the money. We need to get that sent or we're gonna lose it. So he sent, I think it was 4 times. They sent that amount. So it was something like $200,000 they was willing to send, thinking they were going to lose a client because of it. And
They lost the money.
lost a lot of money on it just because it's, again, they utilize fear for the most part and say, this needs to be done right now. And obviously you don't want to make your boss mad, or you don't want to make, even if you have someone managing your finance, you don't want to make them mad because you're not running those things right. So anything they can do to encourage you to make a quick decision, they will do.
So I think the general recommendation is maybe pay attention when there's an external sense of urgency that feels potentially artificial.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if you're being pushed to do something, as best you can, always verify who you're talking to and that you're not just
Okay.
rushing to do something.
I got another one. And for phishing emails, you know, is there something that makes you more vulnerable to even receiving them in the first place? Because I've noticed in the last month that I've started to get more of them and they're coming through to the inbox. I can identify them quick enough, but like, why am I getting them in the first place? Was I reached somewhere
I wouldn't even say it's something you were breached. One thing with phishing or breaches in general is it's not always what they can get from you, but where they can get. So it could be something like you were with their account may have been hacked or breached, so then they got yours through that. And I'm actually gonna address that because there was one thing I didn't have on my slides that I did want to mention was a lot of times too, because you know you can unsubscribe from emails. I actually recommend not doing that unless you know for a fact that it is, say, a Walmart or Amazon, something like that. Because they will set it up so if you click unsubscribe, that notifies them that this is an active mailbox and that gets sold to whoever else wants to start sending spam and phishing emails and things like that as well. So most times you're best off if it's a weird address that you're asking you to unsubscribe if you don't want to receive them. That is just to mark it as junk or spam, whatever your system says. Otherwise, you're flat out saying this is a legit email address that's looked at. So please start sending me more. No.
I didn't know that. I
That goes in my
subscribe all the
I never
time.
fully knew about that till I started hearing others talking about it, but in my mind, that is something that always clicked was, if I'm clicking unsubscribe, am I actually
Yeah.
unsubscribing, or am I saying, send me more, or send other
Other
things this way instead? It's
Well, if we don't have any other questions, I did send out a survey to everybody online, if they could fill that out and return that. And then for those of you in person, there are some surveys and a signage sheet here I forgot to tell you about, if you wouldn't mind filling out a quick survey that helps us to bring more content to you that you're interested in. And I know that for the folks online, the audio was not great today, so I apologize. Ian and I are still learning how to use this owl and make it work the best. And today was maybe not the best. I hope it felt better as we moved on, but we'll keep working on it and testing it out maybe before we do our next workshop. So anything else that we should know or be aware of, or that you want us to know about Intrepitek?
I'm trying to be aware of, I guess, the one last thing that came up from one of my trainings, like I said, we did weekly trainings, weekly micro trainings.
Yeah.
And one thing that came up that I really never thought too much of is phishing emails for canceled flights and car rentals, where they'll send you an email saying your flight's been canceled, click this link to reschedule it, and it'll be a small charge. And then they just charge your card for whatever amount they want. So that is one thing I never thought of until that training came up, so it's
Yeah.
one thing I'm also trying to mention here.
Yeah,
People keep an eye on that, if you're renting cars for your business, you're doing some traveling and not using your own car. They may try to get you to supposedly rent a car from a place that doesn't exist, or think you're renting a car from a place that does exist, but it's not even that same company.
all right. Thank you, Nick, thank you for hosting this. We're happy to be here in Perm today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and log out online. Stop the share.